We'd like to thank everyone for coming. We are Cops Team 11. We'd like to thank the sheriff and his command staff for the ability to join this team for 30 days. My name is P.J. Sitton. I've been with the sheriff's office for 7 years. Been full-time for 5 in the jail. When I signed up for the cops team, I didn't know what to expect. This experience took me out of my comfort zone with problem-based learning. Most law enforcement officers normally just take orders and do what we're told and nothing more. I have relied a lot on my teammates to get me through this and to learn from them. We put our heads together and come up with an action plan to combat the community problem given to us. When our enforcement action started, the experience brought back a lot of memories for me when I was on patrol with another agency. The thought that kept running through my mind was I really missed working patrol, I missed the community interactions, and I missed the sense of pride when I'm able to assist citizens. We've had several citizens thank us for being in the community. What the cops team is about is the sheriff's office is trying to move from good to great. Our sheriff and his command staff want the department to shift away from the mentality of just being report takers to that of a problem solver. The cops team objective is to get involved in the community and to help and address the problems. Our team has a wide range of experience from our careers, hobbies, and experiences in our past. It's based on problem-based learning. Believes that people bring experience and knowledge to the learning environment, even though it may not be a specific field. The community problem that was given to us is as follows. Community members and business owners have complained of constant issues along the 1923 corridor where loitering and unusual spin-off crimes associated with it are occurring in the Enka community. The community and businesses along the corridor have commented that they do not feel safe within the area. Open air, alcohol, and public intoxication are among some of the complaints in the area. The break-ins in the Enka-Candler area are down, but 2 pair groups have surfaced in the area that may be responsible for some of the criminal activity. The public perception. These slides kind of represent what public perception is. This is what my friends think I do. They think I'm a stormtrooper. My mom thinks I'm in a sitcom cop. Kids think we're superheroes. Grown-ups just think we're hardcore and have no play. Of course, we think we are the law, so. And the truth. That's actually what we do. The public perception of us when we first entered the Candler Enka area was, what are we looking for? Was what we're looking for, somebody hurt, is there an accident, is there a robbery? And once we explained to them that we was actually the cops team and there for 30 days, they wanted us to solve all their problems. And they were all very happy and open for us to be there. And with this, I'm going to turn this over to Detective Davis for his part of the presentation.
Good afternoon. My name is Mike Davis. I've been with the Sheriff's Office for over 22 years. I'm assigned to the Criminal Investigations Division, working primarily property crimes. We do have local problems in a big world. Our area happened to be Enka-Candler. SCAD held a community meeting to identify problems within the Candler area. This information was forwarded to the Cops Team 11. Consisted of loitering at Bojangles and Mountain Energy, gang activity, and open-air drugs. Businesses speak. We went out and talked with all of the business owners along a 1 mile stretch. These are photographs of some of the area businesses and some of the ones that were the target areas. We first looked at the community problem as stated, the loitering, gang activity, drug activity, and property appearances. We next stopped at each business within a mile circumference of Bojangles on Smoky Park Highway, which came to approximately 50 businesses. We talked with the businesses about any perceived problems such as those stated in the original problem. The majority of the businesses did not see any problems at all because they had taken care of the past problems and addressed them by installing alarms, security fences, and security lighting. We photographed each location and included aerial photographs for each problem area. While taking photographs, we found several businesses that were closed. One former daycare center had been broken into with the door propped open. After checking the building, we were able to secure the door back, and a new business has now rented the building and is in the midst of making it habitable again. Many of you will recognize this location. This is what we found when we went inside to check it. So we secured it when we left to where they could not gain entry again without a key. Views of the target locations. These views are from the above Daniel Boone Auto Sales, which is out on the left in Candler. There's a bank there, and we were actually above that. These are daytime shots, but believe me, we were out there many nights. Problems that were verified were loitering at Bojangles and Mountain Energy. We identified 3 gangs in the Candler area, outstanding warrants, enforcement actions, and the Army surplus appearance concerns. Bojangles, their stated problems were loitering, drug use, safety concerns by the public. Same situation with Mountain Energy. Army tents, that's an appearance problem. If you drive along, you'll see a pile of what we would call junk all along the side of the road. You're not seeing even a tenth of what you would actually see if you happen to be flying over. The way this business started out and how it moved over to there was, this property here was being rented. They took this property and got flooded out. They were using both these properties for renting them. One year they got flooded out. They moved across to this property. They wound up buying this property. The property here was being rented, and the gentleman that owned the property died. They kept paying rent for a few months, and then the checks started being returned. They found that no one was taking the property over at all, no taxes, no nothing. So they continued paying taxes every year on this property after they talked with the county. The county said in 7 years, if you keep paying the taxes on it, you will get that property if no one else tries to take possession. They have 2 years left before they will own that property just for paying taxes on it. Perception versus reality. We did surveillance on the listed problem areas and found that there was very little loitering at Mountain Energy or Bojangles. What problems that were noted appeared to simply be employees interacting with their friends after hours or late at night, some of which were identified as gang members. We found not 2, but 3 gangs in the Enka-Candler area, OCT, blood clots, and the Inca Mafia. These will be discussed in detail later. Perception versus reality, open air drugs. BCAT sent an undercover officer into a local business that intelligence said was selling drugs out their back door. The officer did not find any signs that this information was true. ArmyTents.com, property concerns. The other businesses in the area have complained about the clutter on the property and near the road. After talking with county land use and planning departments, we found that there was no local ordinance that addresses this type of problem. County commissioners are aware of the problem. We found that no one had actually been talking with the owner of the business. We stopped and talked with the management of the surplus store, inquiring as to any problems they might be having. We found out that much of their reason for the disarray was based on their way of doing business. They only take internet orders. They do not allow walk-in sales. Their drive-through areas where they stretch and dry tent merchandise for inspection and shipment. People were driving through this area and destroying merchandise. They now use the inventory to block this area. After meeting with the management, we have suggested a solution by moving some of their merchandise, which should help with their security and property appearance. Pictures of Bojangles, Mountain Energy, and ArmyTents.com, the target areas. Other problem we were given was complaints of loud noise on Kentel Road. Those of you that have lived here a while will be familiar with Legion of Doom Motorcycle Club from years ago. They still have a member that lives on that property and still have a little bit of an area there. Kentel Road reality. After 8 hours of surveillance done over several days, we did not find any noise ordinance violations. We spoke with LOD member Chris Case, who stated that he often had friends drive by and rev their motorcycles to say hello. He asked that if we found there to be a problem, please come to him and he will happily address it. COPS team found that we should do surveillance to verify the complaints. What we found was that a surveillance camera or system could do the required surveillance at a fraction of the cost of personnel. That's on static locations. Let's talk a little bit about surveillance. Surveillance is the monitoring of the behavior, activities, or other changing information, usually of people, for the purpose of influencing, managing, directing, or protecting them. It can refer to simple, relatively no or low technology methods, such as human intelligence agents. That's what we were doing. We were the low technology because we were using cameras and we were using binoculars. In the United States, the Department of Homeland Security awards billions of dollars per year in Homeland Security grants for local, state, and federal agencies to install modern video surveillance equipment. How much could we save in officer hours by using a camera to do surveillance? We spent over 20 hours times 5 officers watching the target businesses, so 100 man hours. As mentioned earlier, the equipment costs may be covered by a Homeland Security grant. Now let's talk a little bit about social networking. Many U.S. government agencies are investing heavily in research involving social network analysis. The intelligence community believes that the biggest threat to U.S. power comes from decentralized, leaderless, geographically dispersed groups. During our investigation, we used social networking, Facebook and Twitter, to help identify gang members active in the Enka-Candler area. We also used SRO information to gather further investigative leads during the Enka High School homecoming game. Property crimes. As noted earlier in the community problem, property crimes are down in the Enka-Candler area. Current versus historical data. 60 days prior to the COPS team, the previous 60 days, B&E reports were 29 in the S3 area. That equaled out to 0.48 per day. During the COPS team, in the S3 area, there were 5, which came out to 0.26 per day. The previous 60 days in theft reports, there were 35 in the S3 area, which equaled out to 0.58 per day. During the COPS Team 11 deployment, there were 5 in the S3 area, which equaled out to 0.36 per day. Now I'll turn this over to Officer Reed, who will speak to you about gangs.
Good afternoon. I'm Officer David Reed. I currently serve in the detention division here in the Sheriff's Office. I've been here for a little over 6 years. When I found out I was coming to the COPS team, I didn't know what to expect or what effect it might have on me as an officer or person. The first time it really hit me was when we were out making arrests on 2 subjects. As we were out making the arrest, I just happened to look up and I noticed that there was about 30 eyes staring at me, watching our every move. Coming from inside the jail, this was an uncomfortable feeling for me. I knew I was outside of my comfort zone. My point being that several times during this assignment, I have been outside of my comfort zone. This happened several times throughout the deployment, and from these experiences, I believe I was able to grow and expand and become a better officer from these tough challenges. I was able to rely on the experience of my team members to help me get through these challenges, and I was able to see the bigger picture of what kind of challenges that they experience out on the road. I just wanted to share that with you guys. Today I'll be covering gang activity. Coming into this, we obviously had some intel that there was possible gang activity within the Enka-Candler area. None of us on the team had much experience in dealing with gangs. So the first thing we decided to do was educate ourselves on some possible gang signs, possible tattoos that we might see, and what we might be dealing with out there. Below here I have a known gang member. He has the blood crowns tattooed above his eyes and the dog's paw print on his right arm, which is very typical of a blood gang sign. There was obviously areas of concern from the community about the possible gang activity. Our first step to make contact was to make contact with all the business owners and use the school resource officer from Enka-Candler High School, Curtis Wallace. He was able to help us identify 3 gangs. OCT, also known as Old Candler Town, a group that calls themselves the Blood Clots, and Inca Mafia. Another way we were able to identify these members was by using social media. Lots of young people participate in social media. This truck here we were actually able to find and seize due to it not having a tag, and he was driving without any insurance. These 2 guys here are 2 members, and this is just an example of what we were able to look up without even having a Facebook account, and we were able to find information on these guys. We went out into the community and looked for tagging and other common indicators of gang activities on businesses, abandoned buildings, and sidewalks. Here we have some graffiti we found in one of the parking lots next to the old flower shop. This is a tag we found at Enka High School while working the football game. This right here is what was in one of Mike's earlier slides. It's actually the old post office off of Smoky Park Highway. And we found this tag here doing a warrant service on Dylan O'Sullivan, which I'll get into a little bit more later. We were also able to identify some of the OCT members because they all drove loud trucks. And like he said before, there was some loitering going on in the Bojangles parking lot. We were able to make contact with these members by stopping them when they went through our checkpoints and questioning them right then and there. During that time is when we checked for common tattoos and other indicators amongst them to recognize them as a gang. This is an individual we stopped coming through our checkpoint. He's got some tattoos and markings on him here, and this is one of the guys we've actually was able to make an arrest on and put inside the jail. He has a very similar tattoo. He also has a 5-point star. What we ended up finding out about these gangs were they were more of what you call a hybrid gang. Hybrid gangs are new youth gangs engaged in illegal activities. They start out as party crews at local high schools. It consists of a group of 3 or more people with a common sign or symbol who frequently attend parties together. So basically, if JR, Mike, and myself were to get a common tattoo, participating in illegal activity, we would be recognized as a hybrid gang. The local gang activities we talked about before was causing some problems with the community. They were loitering, is some of the intel we got, at the Bojangles and Mountain Energy area, which is obviously bad for business. Participating in open-air drug deals, tagging buildings, which is an eyesore to the community, school fights. We had some intelligence that a lot of these guys were responsible for the big fight we had at Irwin High School. They're more inclined to commit crimes. We also had some intelligence that these guys were the ones going around trying to do some of the breaking and entering of the local businesses. In some cases, these gangs can develop into full-fledged violent street gangs. In order to combat this, we had to continue to rely heavily on help from our school resource officers. This included, was not limited to, serving warrants, finding subjects with open warrant, setting up check-in stations to see if they would come through them, and most of all, by talking to the community and interviewing some of these suspects that we came in contact with. As you can see here on my slide, we were able to identify several of these subjects. Some of them we were able to also put in jail during our deployment in that area. We frequently altered our shifts in order to continue our surveillance and be able to gather further intelligence on these guys. We also wanted to keep up with their late night loitering and try to catch them in the act. One of the biggest resources we were able to use was Lieutenant Ron Wright in the detention facility. He is the head of the G.I.S.U, or what is known as the Gang Intelligence Separation Unit. Lieutenant Wright was able to help us with our surveillance. Any of these taggings, some of the vehicles that we were able to take pictures of, taggings, tattoos, we were able to bounce back to him. He was able to decipher them for us, let us know if it was anything affiliated with a more organized crime gang or if we were dealing with these hybrid gangs. We also ran into the problem with limited interaction due to their age. A lot of these guys are still juveniles. they have a limited police record, and there's limited information available at them just because they are juveniles at the time. Also, a lot of these gangs that we were able to interview and talk to, a lot of them were just basically refused to talk to us. They weren't as willing to open up. Some of them opened up a little bit more to us. Coming into this, obviously we had the intel that we'd been given throughout our problem. The community's perception of this gang were that these were actually organized gangs, more of your well-known gangs out there. What we come to find out was they're more hybrid gangs. Basically, like we talked about before, a lot of these guys are local high school kids. We found out most of them had been suspended from Enka High School, and they were basically all just hanging out, and they were more of a party crew. And yeah, they were they probably were taking part in illegal activities. The community saw them as criminally elite, but like I said, they were more or less just students or ex-students that were troublemakers in the community. The community saw them as possibly being organized. They were more loosely organized. What I mean about this is these hybrid gangs, some of the people that we identified as blood clots, for instance, would mingle with the guys from OCT. So basically, unlike an organized gang, they wouldn't stay within the confines of their gang. They kind of work together, they run together, and this can sometimes be a problem to police officers. My last one is action versus talk. The community saw them, as a pretty big threat. As we got out there, the more work we put in, which we put in a lot of work towards this area, and we made sure that we worked on this very hard, it ended up being basically more talk than there was action, these guys. A lot of people knew about them. Other suspects we interviewed, people we arrested knew about them, so there's a lot of word and a lot of talk about them, but there really wasn't much to them. So basically, even though we were dealing with a hybrid gang, we went into this with the stance that we're going to do our best to locate these guys, best to identify them. We were going to let them know that we were looking at them, and that we were there, and they had caught our attention. What we did with all the information, all the intelligence that we gathered to still help this community, because that's why we were there. We were there to help the community, and we were there to assist them with this problem as much as possible. As an agency, we are now aware of these individuals. These individuals will be known to us now. If other law enforcement have interactions with them, then we will know what we're dealing with. We identified several members of who they are, who these troublemakers are in the community, what they're up to, and basically we'll be able to know who they are. We flag these individuals in RMS and JMS, which is what we as police officers use to look up records and whatnot. They will now be flagged and alerted as known gang members, so that if other police officers come in contact with them, they'll know who they're dealing with. While we were out there, we decreased the hybrid gang activity. Towards the end of our deployment, these guys were nowhere to be found. There was little to no loitering at all going on. There was no complaints from the businesses about the trying to break in and enter. The flower shop above had some complaints, and there was nothing going on there. So we definitely impacted these guys. They definitely knew that we were looking into them. They knew we were asking questions about them. Last but not least, this information again was given to Lieutenant Ron Wright with G.I.S.U. It will be loaded into his gang database, and Lieutenant Wright will be able to disperse this information throughout interagencies and possibly gain some more information on these hybrid gangs. That brings me to my portion of the presentation to an end. I would like to thank the Sheriff for supporting the COPS team and giving me this opportunity. I'd like to thank Major Monty Albus and Lieutenant David Bishop for giving me this time off from my normal assignment. Like I said before, this has been a very positive experience for me, and I'm very grateful to have it. And I know as an officer and as a person, I grew from this experience. At this time, I'm going to turn the podium over to Corporal J.R. Knighton. He's going to come up and talk to you guys.
Good afternoon. I'm Corporal J.R. Knighton. I've been with the Sheriff's Office a little over 24 years, currently assigned to the Power Squad in the Patrol Division. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the enforcement section of the COPS Team 11. As David mentioned earlier, we got into the gang situation, trying to identify people. Well, gang members don't always like to talk to law enforcement. Although the information we got from them was good information, it wasn't the information enough to satisfy us. So we come up with another way of identifying some of these people. And the way we did this, all right, we decided to use checking stations. What checking stations are is what other people in the old days used to refer to as roadblocks, license checks. Now we call them checking stations. Purposes for this will be to identify motor vehicle enforcement, law enforcement, identify persons of interest, and identify any safety conditions that may be, on the vehicles, and to have an officer presence in the community. These checking stations are set up in several different locations in the Candler area, 13 different locations. We set up at Old 1923 and Fairmont Road on 2 different occasions, Old 1923 and Morgan Cove Road, Milksick Cove Road and Snow Hill Church Road, Pisgah Highway and South Morgan Branch, Pete Luther Road and Monte Vista, Luther Road, North Luther Road, Pisgah View Road and Starnes Cove Road, Dogwood Road in front of Mike's Heating and Cooling on 2 different occasions, Luther Road and Justice Ridge Road, and then Justice Ridge Road and Morgan Road. Had a total of 13 different check-in stations. A couple of these we moved around with. We actually did on 2 in one day, and I'll get to that and tell you why in just a moment. We also did saturated patrol through the community. And what that is we take what units we have available with us and we go out into the neighborhoods and we just saturate that area. We stop anything that doesn't look right. We keep an eye on people's residence, check anybody walking the streets, just basically soak the area with as many police officers as possible. We did this from 1923 to the county line, Pisgah Highway, Kentell Road, Old Church of God Road, Bradshaw's Circle, Dogwood Road, Old 1923, Justice Ridge Road, I-40 from exit 44, Wiggins Road, the Days Inn at exit 37, which those of us that's ever worked that area know that's a lot of drug activity goes on in that area there. Sand Hill Road, Sardis Road, the Enka High School, Enka Lake Road, and Morgan Road. Okay, these are some of the statistics we got during our check-in station. I want you to remember these numbers because I'm going to refer back to them here in just a minute. 3 weeks prior to our deployment, we pulled the call for service, the calls for service in that zip code, the 28715. Those calls for service were 871 calls. Well, the 3 weeks that we were out there, maybe a little under 3 weeks, actually doing our enforcement, it was down to 794, which is 80 calls less, an average of 10% less. During that 3 weeks prior, patrol had written 18 citations. The 3 weeks that we were out there doing our enforcement, we wrote 95 citations, which is an increase of about 77 with over 500% increase. We also, patrol had written 19 warning citations in that area. The 3 weeks we were there, we wrote 72, which is an increase of 53 with over 350%. And again, I want you to remember these numbers. I'll be back to them shortly. We did a breakdown on what all these citations were. There were 3 driving while impaired. There were 20 with revoked driver's license. There were 29 with no license at all. 35 expired registration, 6 drug charges, which 2 of, by the way, were felony. There were 2 alcohol violations, open container in the vehicles. And there were 20 miscellaneouses, as I put it down, such as maybe an expired inspection had been out for a few days, or something like that, a vehicle mechanical problem. We had a total of 115 charges within those 95 citations. Relayed.net. This is one of the reasons that we had to move around a couple of times during the day with more than one check-in station. You can actually send a text message to relay.net, and this is the number, and you can type in the zip code that you want to know from. Within 15 to 20 minutes, the public is getting mass texts telling them where we are. We tried this, we put this in our cell phones, and within 15 to 20 minutes of us being set up at a location, we were getting texts. And this is what it comes through on your cell phone to look like. We had a gentleman come through one of our check-in stations, and he said that he had gotten the message on his phone, and he just wanted to come down and see what it was about. and he showed one of the officers the actual text message. Well, a couple of days later, on another check-in station, I observed a car that made a sudden turn off to a dead-end road, so I went after it. I got in the car coming out from behind the gentleman's house. I stopped the young lady and I asked her, I said, "Where are you going?" She said, "Well, I'm going to church." "Well, can I see your license?" "Well, I don't have one." "Well, what are you doing driving?" "Well, I'm going to church." I said, "Okay, but you have to have a license to go to church." "Well, you sent me a text," and she hands me her phone. I said, "Ma'am, I assure you I did not send you no text. So this is actually working." Like I say, within 15 to 20 minutes, they know we're there. You can actually put that in your phone and try it sometime. You'd be amazed. And like I say, you just use the zip code that you want to know about. This is a stolen vehicle we got during a traffic stop. Officer Sitton and I was patrolling Smoky Park Highway, and I noticed that truck had no tail lights and seemed to be having a little trouble moving down the road. So we pulled him over. Come to find out, the tag come back stolen. Once I ran the VIN numbers on the truck was stolen. We arrested the gentleman driving. That would be this gentleman here. This is Luke Adams Stafford. He was charged with the larceny of the truck. We got in touch with the owner. He identified him as the one taking the truck. After we done the search of the vehicle, we found this blue container that had a small rock of what we believed at the time to be narcotics, which turned out to be crystal methamphetamine, and he was charged with that felony. Also, there was a passenger with him of Kevin Eugene Deals, who had outstanding warrants. Those warrants were served, and he is also charged with the possession of the drugs. Unfortunately, right now, Mr. Deals is still at large. Like I say, I wanted to come back to these statistics. What you need to keep in mind is these numbers here, where patrol was dealing with this for 3 weeks prior. Make sure that you remember that not only while they only wrote 18 citations, there are 2 to 4 officers working this area out there that have to cover these 874 calls. We didn't have to cover calls for service while we were doing this, which made it a lot easier for us to actually do our enforcement. So, all right, well, I appreciate your attention. I'd like to thank the sheriff and the command staff for allowing me to do this. It gave me the opportunity to get out and actually do some of the stuff that I've been trained in, using my skills that a lot of times I don't get the opportunity to do. So I do appreciate it. And at this time, I'd like to turn the presentation over to Deputy Bobby Bell.
Thank you, sir. Like I said, I'm Officer Bell. I work in the Civil Process Division. Basically, what we do in civil process is we serve restraining orders, child support, we do evictions, and basically general papers as well. Pretty much anything that has a paper trail to it, we end up serving it. So I'm just going to do we came out to Candler area. We had about, I think it was about 11,000 open warrants for the area. And some of those kind of date back about 20, 30 years. Just haven't kind of expunged those out. The reason why they don't get served is maybe because they move. They just don't get forwarding address. They just kind of move out of state, whatever. Like I said, we went out to serve a couple of warrants, a couple of days. And one of them, we went to a trailer park, had several warrants and several people in it. And as we get there, the people that lived there said, "No, we haven't. We've been living here for about a year and a half." Like, okay, well, fair enough. So we go to another one and couldn't even find one resident. So they give a kind of false address for one of them. Another reason why we don't find them is sometimes we don't have enough manpower. So they kind of stand out. So as you see here, these are the warrant service breakdown. The 3 weeks prior to, up here, basically from September 9th through 23rd. This is what patrol was able to serve on the left-hand side, and on the right-hand side is pretty much what we were able to serve for the time we were out there. So as you can see, we have the break-in enterings. Patrol was not able to get any, but we got 3. We had the larceny of firearms. They weren't able to get any. We got 2. Firearm by felon, we were able to get 2. Larceny after the B&E, we were able to get 1. And of course, the possession of meth, which is got from the truck stop there, able to serve that one. Possession of drug paraphernalia, we're able to get 1 as well. You also have a larceny of misdemeanor. They were able to, patrol was able to get 2 warrants served there, because they went out, like I said, patrol would go out when they get a chance, and they would serve out some warrants there. We'd be able to serve 1 larceny misdemeanor. Possession of stolen goods, we were able to get 1 person. the larceny of a motor vehicle, we were able to get to 1. Probation violation, patrol was able to get 1, we didn't get any. 50 Bs, the violation, restraining orders, both of us served 1 piece. Assault on the female, the patrol was able to get 1. That's the assault on the handicapped person, that the patrol was able to get 1, we didn't serve any. Assault by pointed gun, 1 for patrol, we didn't get any. Injury to personal property, they were able to serve 3 warrants that way. And they also got 1 for stalking. In the forgery by of instruments, the patrol served 1. Grand jury indictment, they got 1. Violation by false pretense, they were able to serve 1. Larceny by employee, they got 1. I think those were pretty much all by the same person, but it doesn't matter, they still got all 4 served. A failure to appear on driver while license revoked, patrol served 1, we were able to serve 3. Driver license revoked this period 2, and that's one of our bigger numbers, which was we got 7 warrants served for while license revoked. Pretrial release violation, we were able to get 1. Simple fray, we got 1. I believe that was on one of our juveniles we were able to serve. Harassing phone call, got 1. Speed violation, we were able to get 1. Failure to secure a passenger under the age of 16, we were able to serve 1. Child safety seat, no safety seat, we were able to get 1. No insurance, we were able to get 1. And driving while intoxicated there, we were able to get 2. So total, the patrol was able to get a total of 16 served in about 3 weeks. While we were out there, we were able to serve about 35. A lot of those 10 of them came from when we actually did warrant services. And the other 25 came from our checking stations. So with a total increase of about 119%. And next is basically the Pareto Principle, which is the 80-20 rule. It's a gentleman pretty much did a study on pretty much pea pods. 80% of his peas came from 20% of the pods. Basically, you can just kind of do that in pretty much anything in life. 80% of businesses, or of your business, will come from 20% of your 20% of your clientele. 80% of crime is committed by about 20% of population. So by knowing this, we know that we can do crime prevention done by, it's like highly concentrated on particular things, places, and people. You can get kind of the things to be more like a hot product, kind of like your cars, GPSs, devices, and guns. And of course, then you have your hot spots, kind of like the Bojangles and Mountain Energy that we had. And of course, in the people, they're going to be your repeat offenders. And by us going out, serving warrants, going to their house, kind of being in the area, so we kind of saturated them, and they kind of knew we were around. So, with that. And these are some of the repeat offenders that we have actually in Candler. As he said, this one has these, I believe he has 9 outstanding at the time. There's a couple others that also have warrants at this point in time outstanding. But I believe those are the ones we actually served. And then you just kind of keep going through the revolving door. So with that, that's the end of my part of the presentation. I'm going to hand it back over to PJ.
While the COPS team was deployed for 30 days, and we were in the Enka-Candler area, we had a 10% reduction in calls for service. We also had a 500% increase in the citations issued, 350% increase in written warnings, 119% increase in warrants served, and the community was very pleased with us being out there. We spoke with the Army tent.com manager about the appearance. They said that they would try to move some stuff. We talked to the county government, and the commissioners are aware of the problem. While we were in the area, at every check-in station we had people thank us for being in the area. Even some of the ones that wrote tickets thanked us for being in the area. I have enjoyed this experience and will remember it for the rest of my career. I have learned a great deal from everyone that I'm working with, been uncomfortable with problem-based learning, and consider myself to be lucky as a part of this organization. We as a team became a family and had disagreements, got on each other's nerves, but we worked through this and strived to be a better team. In my eyes, I was always right and y'all were always wrong, but my pride did get hurt a lot. I wouldn't change this experience for nothing, and I would love for it to be longer. We'd like to thank the following people. We'd like to thank the sheriff for giving us this opportunity. We'd like to thank his command staff, Captain Rusty Sweezy for his putting on this cop team, Lieutenant Helen Hall for being a part of it, Lieutenant Calhoun for helping us with the reserves, Lieutenant Mike Subby, Lieutenant Mike Ruby for allowing us to get information from Curtis Wallace, Corporal Sean Wilds for helping us with serving some warrants out in the Enka area, BCAT, which is the Buncombe County Anti-Crime Task Force, for helping us with some to do some undercover buys. We'd like to thank the SCAT team for doing the community meeting. We'd like to thank the Sheriff's Communications because we know we drove them crazy for 30 days. We'd like to thank the Robert Reserve units, Mike Dixon, Eric Price, Bobby Beard, Ronnie Davis, Greg Martin, and Mike Robinson. We'd also like to thank Roger Presley from Solid Waste, who helped us get in touch with Josh O'Connor at the Planning Division. We'd like to thank Mike Seaton and Coolin for allowing us to use their parking lot, Gene Hume for giving us the map, and Michelle Wood Pace for giving us some intel.